quietly continued to accept the mercy-laden, merciless agony of what
only survives as
entirely personal.
without witness, all that really matters here.
what only matters.
Herself,
For now.
Holding on to it.
Patiently.
like she held on to
Just as she held on to
Belinda Kite.
Belinda Kite. Gently and painfully and gratefully too.
Accepting them all.
And with great sloppy breaths too.
Even if she also continued to wonder just how long one such tiny stitch of,
You know.
could really hold.
We're going to have a Q&A shortly with Danielewski, Zalewski, who did the music, and Marie, who provided us with the amazing shadows. So you'll have an opportunity to talk with them about what you just experienced. We'll have a raffle after the Q&A for a copy of the 50-Year Sword. There's also a second show at 9, and there's a book signing that will happen here as well. So if you don't get a chance to get your book signed, feel free to hang out at the bar. There'll be another show and more revelry out in the lobby. So we'll get started in just a second.
John, where are you? Happy Halloween.
Questions? Comments?
How did you orchestrate the voices?
It was tricky. The actors worked very, very hard. I mean, it's this strange relationship between attempting to retain a certain voice carried out by the actor and their own impression story. The story is really how we stitch together certain narratives, you know, and how we create our own history, but that all our histories and all our narratives are actually little pieces that are fused together, whether it's the voice of peers, the voice of parents, or, you know, the voice of things we've read or heard. And so what I wanted to do was bring into focus how much these things are cut up, but at the same time still give it, you know, meaning, complicated meaning, but meaning nonetheless. And so that originates really out of the story.
There's a question back here and then here. Did you always intend it as a performance piece?
I always intended that it would be read by multiple voices. You know, that definitely is indicated in the text itself with the colored quotation marks and how it frames that. And it's strange. I always felt there were shadows involved, and I can't quite describe that. There's this uneasy relationship in the book between what is literal and verbal, and what starts to move away. So I think that's the point. That it moves away from the text because it starts to move towards voice. And always those voices seem to be accompanied by shadows. So for me, it was a quest to not only literalize the voices, but actually, you know, how do I begin to fill and not illustrate, but sort of play in part, like the shadows of these characters would then have their own life. So Christine and I worked very hard on how to get the candles, because I was in love with the candles. The candles are very significant in the story. And then they became the 5 windows that you saw, which then you realize that sort of here are our 5 candles, or more appropriately, here are our 5 orphans that are telling us the story about what they'd seen long ago and what act of mercy had taken place before their eyes. And then, you know, sort of from those windows and those candles sort of moving out this wide space where shadows live. And sort of Christine's Persephone. She's the queen of the underworld back there. And you are only allowed to step back there if you are invited. Otherwise, a terrible freeze from Richard.
Your writing utilizes a lot of self-imposed constraints, and among those, intentional misspellings or mispronunciations we heard tonight. How do you decide on those constraints, and how does it work in your process of creation?
Well, there's certainly an element that's sonic, yes, there's oral interpretation of it all. But also those words are very, you know, carefully constructed, not just for sounds, but also for how those meanings are sort of tripping through that particular piece. You know, so look at the way they sort of bend, the words themselves kind of distort. But when you're looking at the distortion, you'll find that they actually kind of apply to what's going on and how. And it also kind of recognizes again that there's this quality of vocalization that's imperfect, you know. And imperfect is even the wrong word, or misspelling is the wrong word. It just what it's trying to show the dynamic nature of language, the dynamic nature of storytelling, bringing that back out in the text. Playful, yes. As John pointed out, playful. Don't be like our playful scattering of pearls.
There used to be a form of storytelling called a magic lantern show at the end of the 1800s. Do you think it was something like this? Mark Twain and certain writing.
Yeah, they still happen, and those are done slides mostly. So it's like there's a big sort of machine, magic lantern, smaller bit, and they put the slides in. So yeah, very similar to having images of the story.
But I think though that there's a movement away from a still text to frame to things that are breaking the frame that what you're doing, creating some velocity, dimensionality. In my case, it's dimension. Dimension. There you go. There's the play. Right? Well, technically the names, the story, in the book itself, the characters are not named. They're just, there's a nod towards the spices of fall, Halloween. But it's really difficult when you ask actors who are reading very quickly to recognize quickly the color of their quotation marks. You know, cloves and molasses can look very similar. So it's a big clusterfuck. Then quite a bit actually. By the way, thank you all. Because, you know, for being able to turn around and look at you and be so wildly entertained.
Starting here and then working across in the camera.
Both the music and the puppetry the shadow reminded me of like Wayang in Indonesia. That's what I got. And I was just curious, when you were doing music, were you using things like analogs or whatever? Like, because the bell sounds, like, I remember those as a kid in Indonesia, like how the story moves, and like how characterization is also played by.
Well, a lot of source material are being played with mallets, or electrical things like a record that I put into a program that easily manipulates these things one way or another. So there are bell-like things in there, not music instruments, and I just kind of mold them into something that sounds hopefully spiritual.
Another question about the sound. In the text, the intrusion in the middle always feels a lot more violent than the way you represented it. Why did it sound that way?
John, I'm going to give that one to you.
Which particular intrusion? The storyteller?
When
Big, bold storyteller song. We're back and forth on this.
Right. Well, we put this together. This is today was the first time we played it.
Yes, very first
So
time.
I was conservative in a lot of ways on this, and I found myself just going back and sometimes renting. So I think
And really, a hand for John and a hand for Christine. And we had a really sweet group back there. And there's this one adorable child. That's the only way to refer to her. Sorry, Claire. I know she's at UCLA. And, well, this was a wonderful Claire moment. When she said, we got to do a quick rehearsal of the curtain call. Claire went, what's a curtain call? It moved me. I'm moved by strange things. My dementia